This is the Last Minute Blues Podcast with Alex Ferrario, Donnie Fandango, Jeremy Rutherford, and Jeff Burton on 101 ESPN.
The Last Minute Blues Podcast is presented by Blue Note Roofing. Roofing, siding, and gutters. Your St. Louis roofing experts. Visit BlueNoteRoofing.com for a free inspection.
It is the Last Minute Blues Podcast. Donnie Fandango joined in the Jeff Burton studios by my dude Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN, Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic. Last Minute Blues Podcast is presented by Blue Note Roofing. Roofing, siding, and gutters. Your St. Louis roofing experts. Visit BlueNoteRoofingSTL.com for a free inspection. So, gentlemen, first and foremost, a happy early Thanksgiving to the both of you.
Gobble, gobble, ladies and gentlemen.
You guys too. And good podcast. I met you guys. Good job.
It's great to see you back, man.
The numbers were still through the roof.
Yeah.
The two of you. So
I don't want to say that the numbers that you couldn't see were higher through the roof while you were gone.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have some things to talk about. The rumor mill over the course of the last 24 to 48 hours has gotten pretty crazy. So I do want to get to that. There's not a lot of great things to talk about when it concerns this team. I don't mean to say that in such a way in which that I do, but in reality, I don't know what there is. You know what I mean?
That's the guy that was on the road trip and watched them for 4 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's have some sympathy here.
What are you talking about? You had Philly, Toronto, and New York. No sympathy for
Alex,
you.
I've been doing this for 21 years. You pick your road trips.
That's true. That's very true. I'm a little surprised you didn't do the Florida ones.
Too close to Christmas.
That's true.
So here's what we have, all right? Before we get into some hockey talk, we have news of the first ever Last Minute Blues Podcast holiday food drive live broadcast event.
What a title.
Dude, I just made that up on my own.
You need to add extravaganza at the end of it. Go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to say that there's no way that was a real thing.
He just made it up. No. You know that scene in The Office when they do the charity run and it's like the Michael Scott for rabies awareness, blah, 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 charity run. That's what Donnie just rifled off there.
100%.
It sounded good, though. That's what should be on the flyer.
Yeah. So here's what we have, all right? And this is something that we have been talking about for a few weeks now. Obviously, as St. Louisans and just, human beings, we see what's in the news. We see that there is a lot of people that this time of the year, it is really, really, really stressful for them. There have been cuts all over the place and people are really, really suffering out there. And we just simply wanted to do what we could as a podcast, as St. Louisans, as people, to try to get everybody together and have a great time, but also, take in some canned goods and things for Operation Food Search. So here's what we have going on. Last Minute Blues Podcast, we will be live at Hot Shots in Fenton on Tuesday night, December the 16th from 6 to 7:30. And again, all in support of Operation Food Search and our holiday food drive, not only at the Point, but I believe ESPN has one as well. So you bring a canned or non-perishable food donation and you can score one of the brand new Last Minute Blues Podcast stickers.
Yeah, buddy. We got stickers.
We got stickers. And the best part about it, none of our faces are on this sticker.
Oh, that's the bad part about this. Are you kidding me? You know how much I would love to see, 1, what they've come up with our 3 faces, but 2, to be driving down somewhere in Arnold and then just see a bumper sticker and it's JR's face on the back of it.
We don't want that.
Give me more of that.
Let me ask you a question, okay? So you're on 270. You're going, back home or whatever, and you see somebody with a sticker on the car, like in front of you or something. Like, are you trying to move up so that you can kind of look at the person and give them like a point? Like, are you doing that?
I am not only doing that, but I'm rolling my window down. I'm honking and going, thank you.
Thank you. You're right. That's what we got to do.
We need to make one of those stickers of all 3 of us where it's our face and then our hand goes on the windshield wiper and it's just,
dude, that would be fantastic.
Right?
Well, let's just hold on. Yeah. Let's just see how well the first one does. And then we can kind of sort of go from there.
Watch everyone at Hot Shots take our stickers and then throw them in the trash when they leave.
December the 16th, Hot Shots at the beautiful location in Fenton. We'll be there from 6 to 7:30. We're looking for those non-perishable food donations that are going to Operation Food Search. Now, here is where it starts to get even more fun. You'll have the chance to win big, like a signed Jordan Binnington jersey, tickets to multiple upcoming Blues home games, and even a chance. And dudes, Alex, please tell us about the game Good Puck, Bad Puck. All right.
My gosh.
Your shot for an autographed puck signed by either a current Blues favorite or, Alex, tell us what this is about.
So on Media Day, at the beginning of every season, we're there. We're getting all of our liners for the radio, for all the rejoins and all the players. And we have them play some fun games. People that listen to BK and Ferrario play Beat the Blues. So we also have all of the stuff that are giveaways. So we have them sign jerseys. We have them sign pucks. And we have everybody roll through. So what we thought, because we still have a stash of some really good pucks in there, where it was Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, Colton Parayko, you could get your chance to win one of those pucks. Or you could get your chance to win pucks signed by Jakub Vrana, by Kasperi Kapanen, by Sammy Blais. We have some pretty good hidden gems in there.
I believe Kevin Hayes was in
Kevin Hayes is in there.
Can I ask a question?
Wouldn't surprise me if Callie Rosen's floating around in there, maybe.
Oh, dude, you would have to think. Is this mean? Are we mean for enjoying this
I'm
as
gonna
much
text
as we
those guys in a bit. Yeah, hey, you're the bad puck.
Look, it could be bad puck for the individual. It could be good. Yes, I got a Jakub Vrana puck. You never know.
Whatever you're into.
It's going to be a big bag, and you get to stick your hand in that bag and pull one out.
I think
hopefully you get Thomas.
I've played good puck, bad puck before. Almost slipped there. So.
Thankfully, we are not live.
That's what they'll say if they get the bad puck.
No, years ago, somebody would be doing a fundraiser and say, hey, could you grab a signed puck from the Blues if possible? So I'd talk to a guy down there and say, hey, can I swing by your office and grab a puck? And he'd say, yeah, no problem. I'd get down there and he'd flip me a puck and be James Neal. James Neal, what am I going to do with this thing? They don't know who this is.
I forgot he even played here.
What's so funny is Matthew Chambers, who has helped us with this whole thing, he has these in his drawer still that we had signed like 4 years ago. And there was the one time where we were doing Beat the Blues and all of these guys were traded before we could play the game. So we would just have them hanging out. Like, what are we supposed to do with these? And well, now we found out you get to play bad puck,
good
good puck.
See somebody all excited reach in and pull out, a cap and God.
But you know what? That could, who knows? There could be trading going on. There could be a really huge Kasperi Kapanen fan. Somebody gets the Vrana. Maybe we're working on trades. Who knows? We could be there facilitating that sort of thing.
That will be the general managers, and we'll facilitate these trades. A plate of hot wings for us, and you get the Kasperi Kapanen puck.
All right, so December the 16th, you're marking your calendar, 6 to 7:30. So, this is how they have it breaking down for us. 6 to 6:45, we're collecting canned goods. We're going to be giving away some things around 6:45. The three of us knuckleheads we'll be there. The Last Minute Blues podcast. We'll do it live. I would really hope, and pardon me, one of the things that we've talked about, and I think it's happening, is that we're going to set up a microphone there as well.
Yeah.
So that if you were there and you got a question, you could come on up and ask us. So this is going to be a friggin' blast.
Yeah.
And for all of you, that have taken the time to email in, to listen, to say hello, that you love the podcast, I understand that getting out sometimes during the middle of the week is tough, but I feel like our time is early enough in the evening where you can come on out, have a great time, and then still get home in a good time for bed. Because I'm an old person too, and I want to be in bed at a reasonable time.
You're an old person, but I'm doing this so that my wife can get the three girls down, and by the time I go home, they're asleep. So this is the perfect opportunity. They actually might come, for all I know.
Yeah.
Just come and run around.
Are you even going to have room for our bumper sticker on the back of your car? Like with your wife, the ... and it's like the 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, 6 kids.
Yeah. We got half of the windshield is covered by all of the kids. So I've got a big one just for Donnie and JR's face on my car.
All right. So we've got the first holiday food drive event for the Last Minute Blues podcast, Tuesday, December the 16th, 6 to 7:30 at the Hot Shots in Fenton. I have to tell you, and pardon me, I feel as though we can be honest here. The prospect of this is super exciting to me, and also massively nerve-wracking. Massively nerve-wracking because, I have the worry.
You want to find out how popular you are?
No, I'm all right with not knowing. You know what I mean? But we would love to have as many people out there as humanly possible. I don't know that it's tough to sort of look at the gauge of the podcast and things like that. But I mean, I feel like, we're going to have an opportunity to really, I would love for there to be so much for Operation Food Search to take back that, like, at the very end, us three are helping them schlep boxes into the Operation Food Search truck. Like, for real.
That'd be great.
I would really, really love, if nothing else, for us to make a huge impact food-wise with this.
Well, that's the biggest thing. And, behind the scenes with this, Donnie's the one that came up to me and he was like, man, it's like, I wish we could do something to do and help Operation Food Search with all of these food pantries going dry. And in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to do something like this as well. And it's like, man, why don't we do something with the podcast? And, trying to come up with the idea of a live, the three of us can do anything, but, you want to make it appealing for somebody to take time out of their busy schedule around the holidays to come out and meet with us. The biggest thing is trying to raise money, but the other thing is to come out and have fun. Like the bad thing right now is this hockey team is struggling.
Yeah.
So I feel like getting out there to do a podcast gets you an opportunity to get with other hockey fans, come out, hang out with us, because I know we're going to be there before we even do the podcast. Yeah. But like Donnie said, my goal, my hope is that we can make so many food donations so that it just gets thrown back into Operation Food Search and they're overwhelmed by it, because the goal with this is, man, let's make this a yearly thing.
Absolutely.
Yearly around the holidays, the three of us go out there. The other one too is we're really working hard to try and find a special guest to come out with us.
Hold on here 1 second. I want to interrupt. Dude, JR, Alex has been working his ass off.
I'm on that text thread.
Trying to get that guest. Oh my gosh, Alex, thank you so much for your work. It's almost like 9 days before Christmas. Yeah. It's very tough to get a hockey player to want to come and hang out with us.
Well, the hockey players on top of the main Blues, like main roster, they're going back and forth road at home, so it's impossible to get something down with them. They've got families. And then the alumni, unfortunately, they've got holiday family stuff. Yeah. And so we've reached out to everyone, and we're going to get somebody.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
We're going to get a fun guest for somebody to come out, whether it's an alumni, whether it's some other special guest to come out, tell stories, have fun, talk hockey. That's the main point of this. But we want to try bring as many food cans as possible to make this thing huge.
And we listen. This hockey team's win-loss record be damned. Come the 16th. We're going to have a good goddamn time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. We are going to have a lot of friggin' fun. And I love the opportunity of us getting a chance to hang out in the evening and such. Like, that seems like it could be a good time.
JR is a hoot to hang out with past 6 o'clock. I've seen it. He's like this.
All right. So all of the details for the big Last Minute Blues podcast, live broadcast coming at Hot Shots in Fenton on December the 16th. Up now, 1057thepoint.com, 101ESPN.com. It's all over the place. So we would really, really love for you guys to come out. So listen, let's take a quick break. Let's come back. Oh, that rumor mill.
Oh, geez.
Oh, boy, that rumor mill is hot and people are losing their minds, including me. More of the Last Minute Blues podcast coming next. All right, so listen, guys, we're back here, Last Minute Blues podcast, and as much as I really do try to be a genuinely intelligent sports fan, there are times, there are players, there are things that I just know that I am not being rational. I saw an email, we were texting yesterday, and there was a report that the Edmonton Oilers are hot and heavy after our guy, Jordan Binnington. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to say a couple of things, and then you guys can add the intelligence into this conversation. All right? I understand where the Blues are right now. I understand Jordan Binnington's age. I understand that the retool, whatever, is, the best of the best Blues might not be at a time in the future where Jordan Binnington is still here. It just seems like that timing wasn't super right. All right. I understand that there could be maybe a decent return for Jordan Binnington, but guys, I love that friggin' guy so goddamn much. I love not only did he win us the Stanley Cup, but just his mentality. When you see him interviewed, the way that he is, he just, to me, is just an incredibly likable guy. And so it just makes the possibility of him being moved, It sucks. It breaks my friggin' heart. And I know that it shouldn't because it's sports and that's the way that it goes. But man, we do get attached to some of these guys. And dude, Binner is one of those guys. Like, even if they trade him, I will always view him as a Blue. And I can honestly say if they trade him somewhere, I will be wholeheartedly rooting for that team to win. So the question in which that I have here, guys, for you, is this real? Is this... To me, it makes sense for the Blues. I hate to say that, but it does. But does that necessarily mean it's going to happen? What do you guys think?
I think anything is possible at this point with the Blues and their roster. I think that they're at a crossroads. You know, they've been retooling. They've been trying to contend, which they did last year, and they've been trying to build for the future, Alex. And they've got some great young players coming in. Dvorsky, we've seen him take off this year. Snuggerud, and the list goes on. There's a lot of good prospects that we don't talk about on a regular basis. I think that something probably would have happened sooner with a few of these players had that post-Four Nations run didn't happen last year. And we wouldn't even be talking about this because a couple of these guys would already be moved. They felt like the team could contend again this year. I thought so too. That's not happening at this moment. And so I think Doug Armstrong's talking to teams, and he has to. And whether they're calling about Binnington or Schenn or Falk or whomever, you got to listen. And I know some people are saying, well, why would you trade now so early? Why don't you just wait till closer to the trade deadline? You know, what that does is maybe you get into a bidding war closer to the trade deadline. Teams know they have to add the guy. Why do that in November? Well, if Edmonton, like they lost and gave up 8 goals last night, if they want a goaltender before their season gets out of hand, then maybe they're willing to give you what you want for Jordan Binnington now. And so I think that's a situation. I think with Braden Schenn, there's, exploring going on there. I think that New Jersey is a team that's been mentioned with him. Justin Falk is having a really good season, I think. And look, he's tied for the team lead in goals right now with 6. So I think the Blues have 3 or 4 guys that you can identify as players who other teams would want, who might bring you something. And Binnington's one of those guys. So, he's got this and next year left on his deal. I think Schen's got 1 more year left on his deal. All of these guys are players that you could trade that could help the future of the Blues. And I think when Doug finds a partner, I think we're going to see a few of those things happen.
Yeah, like for me, Schenn and Falk, I set to the side because I think with Schenn and Falk, at some point with the team, and I don't like this because I think Braden Schenn specifically is an incredible leader and an incredible captain. I think sometimes, the welcome wears a little bit, if that makes sense, to where the team is trying to transition. You've got that old guard, you've got your new guard in place, and you're trying to make that transition. And for Braden Schenn, the style of hockey he plays, it's tough to play that way for the next 3 years and be in a third or second line role. And I'm sure he wants a chance to win the Stanley Cup. But you hope, and this is the part that I find so weird, because if you trade them, what are you hoping to get back in return? You're not getting anything that's going to make you better now. You're getting future assets. What do those future assets become? Well, they could become a draft pick. They could become a player. Future assets don't really help a team right now that's trying to get into that winning window again. But with Braden Schenn, with Justin Falk, you wonder if the decision comes, look, the team has underperformed. They've had the same narrative for the last 4 years. Maybe it's time to flush out all of the old guard and bring in the new and let new voices take over. The Binnington one for me is the one I'm most confused by. And frankly, I just don't believe. I get that Edmonton's hot on him. I mean, they got a goaltending problem. Toronto would be as well.
Who would have thought Edmonton would have had a goaltending problem going into this year?
Let's stick with the same guy who got pulled in the playoffs because he couldn't make the big saves for us.
Things tweeted in 2020.
Yeah, seriously. But with Binnington, I get everybody wants him. The guy performs at a high level, even though he struggled early on. But how does that help you as a team? Puts Joel Hofer in the number 1 spot. Do we think Joel Hofer's ready for the number 1 spot? He had struggles early on. We were talking about concerns. You lost Colton Ellis via waivers. The next guy up, you're not in true belief that he's ready to be an NHL goaltender. So if you trade Jordan Binnington, unless you're getting something back in return that's closer to the NHL for you on the goaltending wise, man, you got a obvious hole on your team. That what are you getting? Like Edmonton rumors, this is the part that was wild for me. The rumor that Donnie's talking about, it was Nick Kyprios that said, oh, well, Edmonton's hot on Jordan Binnington, and they would send Stuart Skinner back in return. Yeah, first of all, no, please, God, no. But 2.
And it would have to be more than that.
Yeah, there would have to be more. But that was my thought process, JR, was, what does Edmonton have that you want that makes you better? I mean, frankly, you got both of them in the offer sheet deal. Right. If you trade Binnington, to me, you take a step backwards in an organization because, yes, you've got Joel Hofer. Yes, he's young. Yes, you may think he's ready for that load, but you don't have a backup. You don't know if you've got a goaltender that can win the big game for you like Binnington has shown the ability to. And I don't think you're getting anything in return that makes you a better team right now.
No, I don't disagree. And I just want to explain that the Binnington one perhaps makes less sense than the others. Mm-hmm. But you're at a situation where Binnington has one more year left on the deal. Are you going to re-sign a guy who's 32, 33? Probably not. So it's going to come to an end with Binnington anyway at some point soon. Is he going to keep you competitive? Yeah. But, is he the difference in keeping you competitive and getting you into the playoffs? Are you going to make the playoffs this year, next year? So you have a small window of time, I think, where Binnington's going to be the difference, which he can be, to make you that team. And at some point, I'm not saying Hofer is the guy and he's going to be the number 1A for the next 6 years, but you have to find out. And I think at some point this Blues team will give him a chance to prove that he is or that he isn't.
All right. So let me ask the $1 million question here, as it is the 26th of November. God, still so early in the season.
But yet so late in the season.
Still, it feels like this season has been going on for a year. Guys, with people that have the argument that say, it's still not even December the 1st, why can't this team go on a run? Why would you even start considering talking trading some of these pieces now? What would you say to that person?
Well, I would say that they have shown the inability for any faith in the team. So, if I'm looking at them right now and say, well, why would you do that now when you still have 3 more months before the trade deadline and anything can happen? Look at what they did last year. What have you seen in the first 23 games that makes you believe that this team's going to string 7 or 8 games together? And I know that sounds super negative, but man, all I've heard for the last 3 weeks from the players, from the coaches is, oh no, we're close. We're close to breaking through. And then you see a game like they did against the New York Rangers, or you see a game like they had against the Vegas Golden Knights. So they've been too inconsistent for me to look at their team and say, they'll figure it out. They'll be fine. Last year, I mean, it got to the point where I was like, I don't know if I believe that, until they brought in Jim Montgomery. You can't fire the coach. You're not firing the coach. On top of this, the narrative has been there for 4 years. Slow starts, don't start the season out well, get hot late because they fire the coach, and then they get close to the playoffs but just miss out.
Can you win with this guy? Leadership, there's
the core is these the right pieces? So what I would say to somebody that says, well, why make moves now? Why not wait to see if they could turn it on? Because this has been the same storyline for the Blues for 4 years. And at some point, you got to stop with the coaches. You got to stop with the off-ice stuff. You have to start talking about the guys in the room and say, are these the right pieces that can help us be a consistent winner? And this is why I understand the Shannon Falk and the Binnington rumors, because they're closer to being free agents. They're older. But I also think you have to talk about the main pieces that are going to be taking over that team next year, because they're just as much voices in the room now as Braden Shen, Justin Falk, and Colton Parayko are.
Yeah, I got 3 words for you, Donnie, and you can use it for when you want to do the title of this podcast later on. It's you're delaying the obvious.
Boom.
You're delaying the obvious because it's going to happen. You've come to the end of the road with this group, this core group, and you've got the guys that are going to lead to the future on the team now with Dvorsky and Snugger and some of these players. So I think that, now is going to be the time to make that move. There's no reason to hope until January. Let's hypothetically say this team, let's say you do hang on to these guys. You don't trade them. And in January, they won 10 straight and they're, 2 points out of a wild card or what have you. Really? You think, okay, this is still the group. I believe that we need to, keep playing with this core group. I just don't think that the Blues are of that mindset. And I think it's come to their mind that they're ready to, move on from these guys.
Guys, I got to tell you, the bigger issue for me right now is not whether you're moving Shen or whether you're moving Falk. To me, I feel like those are moves that are probably going to be made later in the year. It just seems like it makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. But what the bigger issue for me, man, as a Blues fan right now, is I am laser beam focused on that goddamn core and figuring out what in the world you need to do to... I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Listen, man, and I strip it down to the bolts, which you don't have to do, but I would prefer that, knowing that there are 20 some odd guys that are going out there every night and playing their asses off for the Blue Note. This, whatever is happening with this core group of guys, I don't know who the problem is. I don't know if it's a chemistry thing. I don't know if it's but I'm over this conversation.
Yeah.
How many times do we have to have this over the course of a few years?
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because there's just been a lot of talk the past 5-10 minutes about, the Shens and the Falks and Binnington. Look, you can move those guys. Is that really going to solve the Blues issues?
It moves the needle a little bit.
In terms of moving forward, no, it doesn't. And so, again, a lot of focus on those guys, but where the focus should be and what we should touch on here is, okay, let's say those three guys are moved, Falk, Schenn, Binnington. You still have an issue with the main core group of Robert Thomas, Pavel Buchnevich, Jordan Kyrou. And if you're going to build around those three guys with the Snuggeruds, with the Dvorskys, and eventually those guys will take over, but you have to have the leadership and production and the determination from those three guys in particular. There's probably a couple more, but the Blues aren't going anywhere unless those guys do their job. Go ahead and get first round picks. Go ahead and get prospects for the veterans that we did. Okay, you still need it from those three guys. And I think there have to be some concerns and some questions. I'm not saying individually that each one of those guys is an issue, but collectively as a group, can you win with that group moving forward?
So the question that I've been asked so many times for these games is like what's going wrong? Watching it, they just don't have the guy that goes out there and just tries to take it.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of guys that are just waiting for something to happen. Like you watch how the Carolina Hurricanes play. You watch how the Winnipeg Jets play. Heck, you watch how the Utah Mammoth play. Even though they've gone through a cold spell, what do they have? They have guys at the moment they step on the ice, they're trying to kill the other side with their offense, with their skill. And the Blues feel like they're waiting for something to take place. So that's why, for me, you can talk Schenn, Falk, Binnington, and get those pieces back. That sets you back because if you're getting first-round picks, those don't affect you for 3 to 4 years. Mm-hmm. What you need is somebody to come into that locker room and say, I am going to go out there and take it. And I don't know if that happens with Schenn, Falk, and Binnington. I think it has to happen with moving one of these core pieces and going out there and bringing a different player in for a change of scenery. And I hate saying that because you love watching these guys. You love that they've developed them. But when Thomas and Buchnevich and Kyrou have been out there, and you could go beyond that as well. I mean, I think there's been times that Holloway's been silent. I think there's been times that Schenn has been silent. That nobody goes out there and says, I'm going to be the best player on this shift right now. We'll see what happens. And you can't move forward as a young core without somebody going out there and taking the reins.
All right, let's do this. Let's take our final break. Come on back for just a couple more minutes. Last Minute Blues podcast coming back for our final segment. All right, I'm glad that we had that discussion here, guys, because more than anything else, as we're sitting here talking about the potential trade rumors, again, the thing that really just pops into my mind more than anything else is that we're 4 years later and we're still talking about this core and we're still talking about some of these players, and it's just insanely frustrating to me. And I like all of these players, man. Like I've become a Kyrou apologist.
That's right.
I see the things that Robert Thomas can do when he's locked in, and holy hell, he's amazing. Mm-hmm. But at this point, man, like I'm befuddled why they would give Booch the contract that he did with the term in which that he gives. So it's just. I don't want to be crabby about it, but I'm super freaking crabby about it. Like it just kind of defies logic to me a little bit.
And here's the wild part about this too. I'm looking around because the Blues aren't the only one that's doing this right now. Like the Rangers are doing this, the Canucks are doing this, the Predators are doing this, the Maple Leafs, all of these teams that you thought they had the core in place that was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a threat. I mean, a couple of years ago, guys, we were talking about the Vancouver Canucks looking like they were going to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And now they're talking about a fire sale. Nashville, when they signed Stamkos and Marchessault, we were saying, oh, geez, watch out for this team. Now they're fire sailing it.
I read a rumor that the Predators were looking for a player and a first-round draft pick for Ryan O'Reilly.
A-level prospect,
the
they
gift
said.
that just keeps giving in terms of when you move him, he's still worth it a couple years down the road.
Do you think Ryan O'Reilly could get that at this stage of the game?
The thing is, you always ask high.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And if you have to come down a little bit, you have to come down.
Okay.
But the other thing is, if you're a contending team and you've got everything in place, except for you need that veteran guy to come and pop here, then he can be that guy. And at that point, if you're that close, okay, I'll give you the first round pick.
Yeah, all right.
The other one too for me, guys, the Rangers. The Rangers a year ago said this team's not good enough. What did they do? They shipped out Kreider, they shipped out Trouba, and now they're stuck with a bunch of 32-year-olds and they don't have any up-and-coming talent.
Yeah.
Like, this is a problem for these teams right now. And it all goes back to, well, they just don't have the right core of players.
Well, and I want to say this because I don't want to sound like I'm defending decisions, but a lot of this is a projection. So when Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas are a year or two away from, needing contracts, and you see a Matthew Tkachuk orchestrate his way out of Calgary to go to Florida, well, guess what? Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou could have done the same thing at that point. And I know you say, okay, well, good for them. Let them do it. Well, listen, we're going back 3 years when they were putting up, Kyrou was scoring 37 goals. And you think he could be a 40, 50 guy goal at some point. Absolutely. So you got to get him locked up. Totally. Well, guess what? The players are all wanting 8-year deals. So you got to give them an 8-year deal. At that point, is there any guarantee of what they're going to be down the road? Now, Buchnevich, obviously a different situation. He's 30 years old. You decide to sign him to a 6-year term. I go back to, I picked him as a player who I thought would have a good year this year. He is having the exact opposite of that. And so, yes, there's room for criticism with the Pavel Buchnevich contract, but I guess the Blues are looking at it in terms of, if we don't re-sign him, who are we going out to get who's scored 30 goals in this league before? And guess what the going rate is for a 6-year deal for a Pavel Buchnevich? It's $8 million, and that's what they do. So all I'm saying is when you mention all those other teams, that should go to prove how hard it is to project, give the players the type of term that they're all asking for, and then just cross your fingers that they're going to produce.
Because it comes down to the player. Like the organization bets on a guy, and they rightfully did with Thomas and Kyrou. I'm not
saying that they shouldn't have. I just want to make sure that's clear.
I don't think anybody is. It's just where they're at right now. You're not getting the results that you thought when you signed them to that extension. You're in that prime, 26 for Robert Thomas, 27 for Jordan Kyrou, and you're wanting to see steps forward, and this season has felt like a step backwards, but you're not wrong. I mean, if you don't, and Doug joked about this a couple of years ago when they struggled, and he's like, look, if you wanted me to tear this thing down to the studs, I can. I chose not to because we feel we have the right pieces in place, and I think they do. You're just missing something else. And I don't know what that is. Maybe it's just a top line goal scorer because Kyrou, there's nothing wrong with an $8 million guy who's a second line winger. Yeah. You're missing that top line scorer. Maybe it's Snuggerud. Maybe it's Dvorsky. But it just feels like, once again, they're stuck. And I feel like for the last 4 years, we've been saying this team
I think
stuck.
You nailed it earlier, is you have to have a player or two or three who tell themselves when they step on I'm going to be the best player on the ice tonight. And I'm not saying that these guys don't do it, but it's not showing. And they're good. They're talented. The Blues had every right to think that they can be those players. But when you watch this team, that's not what that's not the vibe we're getting from a lot of these players.
Right, absolutely not. Well, listen, guys, we have to wrap this up because I have to go on the radio. Alex has to go on the radio, and there are articles everywhere that JR needs to pen. So here, though, before we get done, I do want to plug it one more time. Live episode, Last Minute Blues podcast, part of our first ever holiday food drive with Operation Food Search, is on Tuesday, December the 16th, 6 to 7:30 at the Hot Shots in Fenton. Details on both the Point website and the Arch website, and you can also email us as well if you have any questions. All right, we got to wrap this thing up. The podcast brought to you by Blue Note Roofing, siding, and gutters, your St. Louis roofing experts. Visit BlueNoteRoofingSTL.com for a free inspection. Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic, Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN. I'm Donnie Fandango, live from the Jeff Burton Studios. It's the Last Minute Blues Pot. Damn it, I was on a roll. I friggin' had it. Last Minute Blues podcast. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Gobble, gobble.
The Last Minute Blues podcast on 101 ESPN
is presented by Blue Note Roofing, siding, and gutters. your St. Louis roofing experts. Visit BlueNoteRoofing.com for a free inspection.